morning, Venters. Day 10 of being sugar-free. It might be day 9, it might be day 11. It's somewhere around day 10 though. You know, it's really good when you start to lose track. It amazes me how when you get to day 4 and 5, all of a sudden you just don't really think about it as much. But before I quit sugar, I was always finding a way to kind of cheat the system, right? Hey, how about if I have a little Greek yogurt? It's not that sweet. And it did help me go from Greek yogurt to nothing, right? So I went from donuts to Greek yogurt to nothing. And when I say donuts, that just means sweet stuff, whether it's a candy bar or a soda. I didn't drink any soda. Sometimes I like Hi-C and sometimes I like Powerade. But again, I was mainly drinking Dole Powerade, but I went from that to nothing. And I'm a big fan of unsweetened tea, but not as big of a fan as sweetened tea. Guys, today we're gonna go over 10 signs that something may not be meant to be. Jesse, is this you complaining about your YouTube channel again? Believe it or not, Bob, it's not. I just was talking with ChatGPT and I was looking for videos on YouTube and I just thought, you know what? I don't need YouTube. I'm gonna ask my buddy ChatGPT to give me a couple of tips and pointers on how we as people can try to figure out if something might just be not meant to be. So here we go. Constant resistance and obstacles. Guys, every path has challenges, of course. But if you keep hitting roadblocks, no matter how hard you try, it may be a sign that you're forcing something that isn't aligning naturally. You know, sometimes I feel that way with certain jobs that I've had in the past. Certain jobs you just mesh with and you do really well, but you'll have coworkers that'll ask you questions about this, that, and the other. And a lot of times we don't see it in ourselves, but we can see it in others and say, golly, they're not a very good match for this job, right? Sometimes you get so many obstacles, so many hurdles that you have to overcome that after a while you have to ask yourself, is this really meant to be or not? And if you've ever had a job where other people were succeeding around you, but for whatever reason you weren't, then this is probably a good example. I hear a lot of people on YouTube, because you know, I watch a lot of videos about relationships and stuff. And one of the things that happens a lot nowadays is ghosting. And not only does it happen in relationships between two people that are potentially going to go on a date, but sometimes it happens in the recruiting world where you get ghosted and stuff. And sometimes you just have to say, you know what? It's not meant to be. Because sometimes with recruiting, and same thing with dating, you want something to work. You want to take every excuse they give you and somehow give them credit for it. But you know what? If you're trying to go on a date with somebody and they ghost you, I don't know about you, my thinking is don't be giving them second and third chances. Get out of their life and move on. Number 2, sometimes things have a tendency to drain your energy, right? Instead of feeling inspired or motivated, a lot of times the situation leaves you feeling emotionally, mentally, and even physically exhausted. When I was in sales, we would refer to this as the lay down. Every now and then you need to have some good momentum, right? And so every now and then in sales, you need somebody that's on the other end of the transaction that just says, you know what, let's do it. And they become an easy sale, a lay down. The reason you need that from time to time is simply to get a good positive streak going. You've had 3 or 4 days in a row that have just been atrocious, but for some reason that day today ends up being the best day ever. Sometimes you need those little nuggets just to fall your way, and then all of a sudden you get back on track. Now, when it comes to walking, I want you guys to think about number 3, lack of growth or progress. No matter what you do, things stay stagnant, or you feel kind of stuck in a loop without real forward movement or momentum. Sometimes walking can do that. If you're walking 3 or 4 days a week and you've been walking with us for 3 or 4 weeks in a row and you're wondering why you're not losing any weight, and then you hear Jesse say, hey, you need to walk every day with us. So you start walking every day with us, and then 3 or 4 weeks later, you still haven't lost any weight. It would be very easy just to say, you know what, I'm gonna quit. But that's where you need your Ventor teammates to let you know, hey, this is a little bit different. With walking, it's so darn easy and enjoyable that you really have to try to enjoy the walk, because it takes about 1.5 to 2 months before you really start to see the fruits of your labor, before your goals start to come to be. And so if you're one of those people like me that you've been walking for longer than 1.5 or 2, maybe leave your fellow Ventors a comment just letting them know that, hey, that's one of those things where I would have to agree with Jesse. Doesn't happen overnight, but if you consistently walk, you're going to be able to overcome your weight issues. Now, here's an interesting thought. Jesse, me, has been struggling with sugar. I think we all do. We're humans, right? Sometimes we can get off sugar, and then Halloween or a birthday can get us right back into eating sugar. The thing I love about walking is that I can say to myself, my God, I'm not losing weight. I've got a YouTube channel where I'm trying to convince people to walk to lose weight. But one of the things that I stress in addition to walking is drinking water and avoiding sugar. And one of the cool things with walking is you can tell yourself, hey, I'm gonna start another streak of not eating sugar. And here we are 10 days later, I'm feeling fantastic. I really have been sleeping incredibly well lately. And the only difference from when I wasn't sleeping well and when I have been sleeping well is when I'm staying off the sugar. So I know some of you have a hard time sleeping. Guys, if you get rid of the sugar and still walk and drink water, you might be able to sleep better. I think it's worth trying, don't you guys? Sign number 4, that something might not be meant to be. Your gut keeps warning you. It's that nagging feeling in your gut or that inner voice that's telling you something isn't right. It's worth listening to. Your intuition picks up on things your logic sometimes ignores. So one of the things that you can find out by walking with me is that I'm also a big proponent of listening to your gut. I think I got it not from walking, but when I used to play poker. When you're playing poker, there's subtle clues that your opponents are giving off. They're so subtle that, unlike FBI agents, I don't think you can just kind of look at somebody's microaggressions on their face and literally read them. Instead, actions speak louder than words. The best thing to do in a poker game is just kind of study the tendencies of your opponents. Now, the great opponents can really switch gears. They can go from being slow and laid back to all of a sudden they're super aggressive. That's why they're incredibly good at poker. The people that never switch it up, that do the same thing, they're a little bit easier to read. So what do you do, Jesse, when you're facing the good players? That's where you have to do something that some people find easy and some people find downright impossible. You have to actually trust your gut. Your gut, because we know your gut is right more than it's not, you should really listen to it. The problem is, when you're gambling and doing things where emotions can get the best of you, it's real easy to go with your ego instead of your gut. If you've ever had a moment in your life, whether it was poker related or just anything related, where you used your gut and your gut was right, let me know. Now, does that mean your gut is always right? No, sometimes people really give off weird clues, right? They're a wild card, so to speak. But again, I would still go with your gut. I don't think it's going to lead you astray, especially when it comes to your safety. If you ever get a feeling like you're being watched or you're going into a bad situation, right? You remember when you were younger, you would go to a party, ladies, and you would quickly realize, holy crap, me and my friend Betty are the only girls here. Well, that might be a situation where your gut might have told you, let's get out of here. We don't want to get pregnant. You have to force it. You ever heard that expression? Trying to force a square peg into a round hole, or vice versa? Whenever you have to force it, that's your gut telling you right away, oh my God, we're trying to force this situation. We're trying to make this thing happen. Whenever things have to be forced, they're not natural. That's a natural red flag. And again, when you're looking to find if something makes sense or if something's not meant to be, you have to ultimately be able to read the tea leaves. And whenever you're trying to force that square peg into that round hole, it's just not going to work. It's really not. I like to walk with you guys that like to walk with me. And the reason I enjoy it so much is because it does feel like a legitimate walking team, so to speak. If you had a neighborhood walking team, you would be excited that there were half a dozen people walking with you. Am I right? That would be a really good little walking team in the neighborhood. Walking partners, whatever you want to call them. Well, I have that here at YouTube. I have a good probably dozen people that walk with me every day. I really love the shit out of that. Do I wish it was 12 million? Of course. But you know what? I still love walking with you guys. I appreciate you guys walking with me. Let's do this. Remember, it's not just about walking, it's about Kaizen. What's Kaizen? Kaizen, Bob, is baby steps. If you're walking with me today and you're walking 5 days out of the week, I'm impressed. But you know what would be more impressive? If you decided to take that extra step and tell yourself, since I enjoy walking so darn much, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to walk every day. And since I'm still a little portly and chunky, I'm going to go ahead and try Jesse's advice, and at work, I'm going to add a 20-minute walk every single day. Here's how you know it works. Just rewind and ask yourself this. If I had been walking every single day for the last 15 or 20 years, however long you've been an adult, if I had been walking for the last 15 or 20 years, would I be as chunky as I am now? You already know the answer's no. So if we add to that and start walking at our lunch break, and if we start drinking more water and cutting down even more on that sugar, guys, pretty soon you're gonna see that you losing weight has never been a it's not meant to be for me situation. You've just never trained yourself to continually get better. That's how you hit your goals. You know, if you want to lift 300 pounds, you're gonna eventually have to try to lift more than 100. That's how walking and losing weight goes. If you're walking every day with me and you're drinking water, Sean, but you're still not getting away from the donuts and you're not quite there where you want to be physically, well then the obvious next move would be to at least try to get rid of the sweets and donuts for a month. Get rid of them for a month. See if those six-pack abs start to form, you know? Is there a chance they never will? I suppose, but we won't know unless we try to take that next step. So if a lot of you guys are really close to your goal, hey Jesse, I want to lose just 6 more pounds. Well, we could do what we're doing every day and hope to get a new result. But you guys know that that's considered the definition of insanity. Instead, let's add something new to our game and see if we win the day. When I was younger, and I think everybody can appreciate this even if you never played sports. When I was younger, I always thought that getting better at, like, let's say a game like basketball would be to work on your dribbling and to work on your shooting and stuff, right? And to work on your defense. I mean, that is true, right? That's a good place to start. But it's not a good place to finish. If you look at professional basketball players, Michael Jordan had a turnaround jumper. At the end of his career, when he wasn't quite as athletic, he developed a really killer three-point shot. Steve Nash, who was a famous basketball player here for the Phoenix Suns. He had certain spots on the court where he took thousands of shots every day. So instead of trying to dribble and shoot well, he would actually get to certain spots on the floor where he knew his percentages were going to go through the roof. And that's how a little 6 foot tall guy that's not very fast and can't jump can still be a heck of a professional basketball player. There are ways to take it to the next level. Now, are you and I going to become the Michael Jordan or the Steve Nash of walking? No, but we're going to die trying. How about this? How about we live trying, right? Let's become the Michael Jordan, or if you're a younger person, let's become the LeBron James of walking. Let's go through the rest of these steps. Step 6, it doesn't align with your core values. Sometimes you'll see somebody on a YouTube channel. Have you ever seen this? Your favorite YouTuber, besides Walk Talk Vent, they're doing this great show, and then out of nowhere, they start talking about how they had this pain, and it wasn't until they started taking this vitamin blend that they felt better. And you're just thinking, what the hell does this have to do with the topic of the show? And then before you know it, they're asking you to try this new vitamin supplement. You guys have seen this, right? They're ad reads that people are doing. The problem is when you get an ad read, the company says, we want you to read this as if you're actually taking the product. But I mean, you and I both know, as people that have brains and thoughts, we both know that these people probably aren't even taking the vitamins and supplements that they're selling. Never believe a YouTuber when he or she says, oh my God, I had all this pain, but now I'm taking, and then they're selling a product to you. It really comes across as not the best. With that being said, the goal is this time next year for me to be doing those ad reads. So make sure you buy the shit that I'm trying to sell in the future, damn it. Number 8, the signs keep pointing you elsewhere. Whether it's repeated rejections, unexpected redirections, or new opportunities appearing in a different direction, life may be nudging you elsewhere. So yeah, you're struggling at your job, and all of a sudden everybody's emailing you asking you if you'd like to apply to another. Now, you might be the type that says, I'm already working, why would I want to go find another job? But you never know. Maybe the Lord, or maybe the universe, or the galaxy, or the great ether beyond, maybe the universe is sending you a message. Maybe that message is, hey, your next best job is right there. Take a look at the email. Are you avoiding the signs? Are you like me? Do you believe in the signs? I believe in signs. One time, I lost my keys inside of Waterworld, and I went up to a bodyguard, or a lifeguard, excuse me, and I said, hey, I lost my keys. And the lifeguard pulled my keys out of their pocket. It was amazing. I go out of the water park, and they had this giant dirt parking lot. And the first car I saw had a front license plate that said Believe. And me, being the person I am, I saw that as a sign. That was God saying, here's your keys. Maybe next time rent a locker. My goal was to memorize these instead of reading them to you. Let's see if I can memorize this next one. Do you find yourself making excuses to stay? Do you find yourself justifying things that normally you wouldn't? Sometimes we find ourselves in a spot, and instead of removing ourselves from that situation or spot or whatever, we end up staying for various reasons. We justify staying. If you're absolutely miserable in your job, yesterday I told you to stay in it because sometimes jobs aren't fun. But if you're so miserable that it makes you not want to live any longer, okay, get out of that job. And if you feel relieved at the thought of letting go, if the idea of walking away gives you peace rather than anxiety, that might be a major clue. I think whenever we think of is it meant to be, we think of usually relationships with a significant other. And that's one of those things where nobody really wants to break up with somebody else. but sometimes the thought of letting go feels better than staying. And if you're ever in an abusive relationship, and I mean like a 1980s burning bed abusive relationship, those are ones that you gotta let that person go. You gotta get out of their lives, and you need them out of your life, you know? The problem is when I look at the world that I grew up in, where there was a lot of really gnarly abusive situations for everyone to see, I don't really see that stuff too much anymore. Does weird, horrible stuff happen behind closed doors? Yeah, but do you guys agree with me? I feel like people nowadays, I feel like they've given up a little. I feel like there was a lot more optimism when I was younger. Felt like people had goals and they did things together as a family. And now I feel like everybody's kind of out for themselves. Now, if there's one place in the world where I think it's good to look out for yourself, it's your personal health. That's why I like to walk every day. Walking, believe it or not, is actually a selfish thing I do, because normally when I'm walking, I'm not on my cell phone talking to everybody, right? I'm not spending money, which is nice, because there was a time in my life where I couldn't rub 2 pennies together. You know, sometimes we get in those situations. Heck, you might be in a situation now where you don't have too much money. Well, ask yourself this the next time you're walking. Isn't it nice that this is completely free? Even when I tell you guys to go to the gym costs 10, 15, 20 bucks a month. Walking is absolutely free, and you can enjoy an hour of it each and every day. Anyway, as you guys know, and I don't think you needed me to tell you, sometimes in life some things aren't meant to be. If you're divorced, you know those situations, they happen, right? When you first marry somebody, you actually do feel like it's gonna be forever. When you get a divorce, you're thinking, what the hell did I ever see in that person, right? So there's definitely a lot of situations. One thing that I think we all agree is meant to be is that we all want to take our daily walk. So I'm proud of you. Make today that day that you contemplate doing some extra credit. Have a great, safe weekend. I'll see you tomorrow.